are online. And Harry actually said he was going to try and join online too, but we'll see.
Oh, is that right? You
Yeah.
know, he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to be at this one at the last meeting."
Yeah, and he's out of town, but he said he was going to try.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So let me just double check and make sure he's not lingering, waiting to get in. No, I don't see him.
Okay. Well, hopefully he'll catch up with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So here's the agenda. I wanted to keep this simple because we've got just a couple of things that are small in number but big in scope. So we wanted to come back. I was thinking we come back to our economic development priorities. It was, I believe, 2 months, maybe 3 months ago, we started to look at this document and I introduced it, talked about the 5 priorities, mentioned how infrastructure is one of their priorities. For it's really the first time in a long time. Y'all, can you see my screen online?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this executive summary. I'd like to have a discussion with y'all because the goal tonight, let me go back over to this screen, is to start to develop out our 26-27 economic development priorities.
Okay.
This is going to help us when we set these priorities in place and formalize them through a council action. That gets included in our grant applications.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps us communicate with state agencies about what our policy intentions are. And most importantly, as I was talking to everybody about, in a couple of forums now, it's really important that you link your priorities to the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or the CEDS, because a lot of your grant funders out there are required at their state or federal programs to demonstrate that that connection has been made. And the federal government, the Economic Development Administration, requires every single local development district or economic development district, we're in one, to produce this plan every 5 years. So it's a meaningful thing, and attaching to it is a very strategic idea and opportunity. So that's the kind of the piece that why we're talking about what we're talking about. The economic development strategy executive summary. So what I provided for folks in the packet that we have in front of you, just a piece of the stapled packet that I provided here, is page 6 through 15. If you all wanted to go online to a tab, maybe you prefer to be able to scroll through the document yourself. You could just type in, and I'll actually show you what I did if you wanted to copy along. I just typed in OCW COG CEDS. So that's the Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments CEDS. And the very first hit should be what comes up if y'all want to find that yourselves and follow along. But I'll be scrolling through just so we all can see it, and y'all got
Okay.
one in your hand.
Gotcha.
So as I was saying, it's designated by EDA, Economic Development Administration. This includes Benton, Lane, Lincoln, and Linn County. So our district actually extends all the way out to the coast. The Cascade West Economic Development District, that's what CWED stands for. They advocate for and support and coordinate these regionally significant economic development activities. So they're focusing on the region, and they help us make sure that we're aligning with that stuff. So like they talk about right here, what is a CEDS? It is locally based and regionally driven. This piece right here is kind of the key operative thing that I want to make sure we're talking about. It's our projects, our needs at the small city level, but regionally driven, because this CEDS tells the federal government what all these small places really need. And also what it does, the second thing that it does is it's capacity building and foundational. So it helps you figure out as a district, including all of the folks who put this together, what do we need? What kind of capacity do we need to develop to meet our goals, to meet our 5 priorities? And it's foundational in that, like I was saying, it really helps us pull in new industries that want to come to our state or our region. and also helps us work with the economic development folks at the state and also in the nonprofit sector. So there's kind of two things they talk about it doing. It benefits our region in a couple of ways. So like number one, they say it highlights key priorities for the region in the next 5 years. Now it does that because the federal government requires us to do that, but it also is meaningful. And number two, the SEDS helps us identify strategic priorities that have regional significance. So we talk a little bit here about economic resilience. This is one of the first times I've seen economic resilience show up in a SEDS. They talk a lot about economic development. Resilience, though, is kind of getting at, in a lot of ways, these pieces: infrastructure, redundancy, and resiliency. If we don't have that, we're not going to be able to build the workforce, and we won't be able to diversify our industries. So having infrastructure in here is a really big deal. And like they talk about, the economic resilience is like the ability to recover quickly from a shock, the ability to withstand a shock, and the ability to avoid the shock altogether. Thinking about us as a small little community, what kind of businesses do we want to attract here? What do we want to be as a community? Also, in order to make sure that our tax base grows and that our revenue grows. So you can see that they have the 6 priorities here. That number one was that's late night. Diversification of industries and economic sectors. So bringing in more types of businesses, more industries. Workforce flexibility. So think about people who can retool or find new ways to get different types of employment, moving from one industry to another. We're going to see a lot of that over these next couple of years. A community like this could potentially benefit from a shift in the workforce demographics because blue collar work is actually likely to increase. And we have a lot of farming activity within our district, something to think about. That infrastructure, redundancy, and resiliency, that's huge. That's like everything that we're trying to focus on right now. Fair access, and they go into each of these in the packet, and we'll touch on them briefly. Pre-disaster planning for response, continuity, and recovery. This touches on our Emergency Operations Center City Hall concept.
Mhm.
And the 6th one is internal coordination and external communication. This one shows up because what they do is they create this plan, and then it's really hard for them to ensure that local governments are using it and referencing it in their grants applications. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're doing number 6 right now. So just a quick review of, they're talking about the district profile. These are our employment industries in this district. I found this really interesting. Government and healthcare are right at the same percentage. Retail 12%, food and lodging 10%, manufacturing 10%, and business services 10%. So you don't actually see a lot of high-tech jobs here. Unlike places like even Eugene as a city, or Corvallis, or a lot of your communities around the country are really worrying right now. What does it mean for the wage of an AI worker, or an IT worker, to go from mid 6 figures to under 6 figures, or maybe disappear over the coming years, right? What does that mean? For us, we don't have that challenge as much, but it exists for sure.
Why doesn't that add up to 100?
Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of the other industries just aren't large enough. They're like single-digit percentages. We probably have something like 30 or so different industries, but they all have real small numbers.
Okay, cool.
And one interesting thing is the Department of Labor at the federal government and the state level have that information available, like down to the nitty-gritty. So here's the population, the area size, the median household income, and of course the city where the county seat is located for all 4 of the counties. We looked at this a little bit last time too. By far, Lane County is way ahead of everybody else. We're a tiny little sliver in that top left corner. I was surprised to see Lynn County actually has the population they do, and it's really likely because of Albany. So SWOT analysis. Folks, I'm sure everybody's touched the SWOT analysis at some point in time. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So kind of looking at these, the strengths, they're talking about infrastructure, connectivity, north and south. But I think this is largely having to do with Highway 99. Just being a route north to south, not necessarily the kind of infrastructure the way we're thinking about it. This is really transportation infrastructure, not pipes, things like that. They say their challenges are infrastructure connectivity east to west, and especially in rural areas. That includes us. And we know that. One of the reasons that we would like an emergency operations center is because that connectivity is a problem already. And if bridges go down because an earthquake hits, it's going to be a problem. The opportunities in that line they're talking about economic resilience, and threats, of course, is natural hazards and disaster events. And you can kind of see each of these going down the list. We want to be able to support business climate, but we know that there's changing demographics. There's opportunities to connect to existing resources like ourselves, the county, the school district. But there's also those socio-political factors. We got to get people on board. Innovation is one that they're focusing on. They talk, of course, again about growing and diverse regional industries. And of course, livability factors as well. Sorry, one moment. So one of the big threats that they pointed out here too is tax structure and access to funding. It's going to be cold days for governments across the country and in Oregon, in some ways in particular, over these next couple of years. Thank you, sir. So we need to sharpen our pencils more than we did when ARPA dollars were just raining down on us. And we're in a position now where we have to do a lot of projects. So that's one of our big threats. One of the big things that we're trying to lean on right now. And then they talk about their strategic priorities. So here's what they're trying to do. In terms of the district's preferred future, with those diversified industries and a resilient economy, wage growth, their priorities are this. They want regional collaboration and partnerships. So that includes us. That includes working with a regional solution team in the county and the state. Grow economic vitality through business development. Hey, that's what we're trying to do. That's what BAM tries to do. That's what you're doing with the Business Expo. So we're hitting on that. Priority number 3, again, infrastructure resilience. As I mentioned before, this hasn't shown up in prior sets. This is really the first time I've seen infrastructure show up in a comprehensive economic development strategy, because the state and the federal government are really starting to realize that, we have businesses leaving Oregon right now. It's become a huge issue for the Oregon Business Association, and they've identified the inability to attract large employers because of lack of infrastructure as a key issue. Yeah. Foundations for economic well-being. Right. So it's not just bringing in the new industries. It's also making sure that we're financially solvent and able to support that in addition to our daily work that we have to do, which means that we need more money than we would just at the basic level. And we need to be able to make sure that we're providing good quality jobs for people as well. So that's part of the thing about expanding and diversifying economies and industries. And then the final piece, they threw this in because this is also something that hasn't always been focused on in prior seds. Rural communities have sort of always just been there on the side. Now, what the state and federal government are starting to realize is rural communities are really some of the only places left to build meaningfully. Housing, business development, it creates an opportunity. So they want to see vitality. But when rural communities like ours hear that, we also say things like, whoa, moderate, incremental, right? Those are the kinds of words and thoughts I think come to mind. So there's a balancing act there. And like they say here, each priority contains several ideas. And so they do touch on those here. They give basically what they mean as a description, how the economic development district, and we actually had the lead representatives from CWED at that regional solutions meeting. So as a regional coordinating body, they're committing to advancing sustainable economic growth across Benton, Lane, Lincoln counties. And so what they want to be able to do is promote initiatives that foster innovation, job creation, and strengthen the region's economic resilience. Because they're focusing on infrastructure and we're focusing on infrastructure, we're speaking the same language. So their key partners that they point out, I want to make sure y'all are aware of these. One of the things I want to be able to do over these next couple of months is have some of these folks come and visit us for our economic development committee meetings. And they can absolutely just join online or they can come in person, but I'd like to hear from some of these folks because they can provide information and we can ask questions that would be really valuable. But the economic development staff across the region, we've already started working with them. The CWED board, Councilor Cuthbertson is on the CWED board. Business Oregon, they were also represented at the Regional Solutions meeting. The Regional Solutions team themselves and all of the members associated were there. There's the University of Oregon EDA University Center. And they are doing a lot of work right now around the state, which is really exciting to try to support policy level ideas and concepts. And then also Oregon, just Oregon Regional Solutions in general. So we have and I showed you guys this at the meeting, if you were at that Regional Solutions meeting, we're one of 7 districts in the state. They kind of bunch together counties. We have 4 counties. Some districts have 2 or 3. But together they represent the Oregon Regional Solutions, and other counties and other districts are also doing a lot of similar work. So it may be really helpful to reach out to some of those other districts, hear what they're doing, especially the ones that are adjacent to us. Learn a little bit about, not even necessarily adjacent, but even if they're similar to us. What are they doing? Do they have questions for us? Are there ways that we can collaborate a little bit?
Right.
They talk about their area 2 economic vitality through business development. And Mayor, I wanted to take a moment here and talk a little bit about the BAM stuff, because admittedly, I don't know a lot about BAM. I do know that you work with the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce
Right.
and BAM, and both of those organizations work on economic vitality through business development. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, for the chamber, what they're doing is they're incorporating Junction City, Harrisburg, and Monroe, kind of an umbrella of all of those communities.
Like a subset of.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're in that they are supporting their businesses, whatever their businesses are doing, their events, just trying and just providing visibility to the businesses that we have, so people know, hey, you don't have to go to Eugene, you don't have to go to Corvallis, it's here. So I mean that's kind of the basis of, I mean, events are a big driver, especially with the chamber, on getting more eyes on the businesses that are in the chamber, and then bringing more business into the area too.
Absolutely.
So and then with BAM, basically our membership is anybody that has a business that has the 97456 zip code. And essentially what we're doing is, it's kind of a microcosm of what the chamber is doing, but we're finding that not all the businesses in this zip code, they're not necessarily something you can drive by. There are a lot of businesses at home, micro businesses, or businesses that are strictly just an online, store. Getting visibility to those folks, getting them involved in events. I mean, we're still small and we're trying very hard to get everybody involved. But I know that specifically with the holiday shopping event that we have in December that coincides with the light parade, trying to tie things together to events to get more people here. Maybe, go to a winery, maybe, go to the Christmas store, maybe go out and, go and, whatever other businesses are outside the community for a gift or a dress or whatever the case may be. But, BAM is sponsored as part of that shopping event, a map, a directory of other, just again, the visibility so that, getting folks to know that, there's more here than you think. And I don't know, Stan,
Yeah.
what more can you add to that?
Probably not much. I think when I look at it, it is the beginning of the infrastructure for a Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
It's a website. It has as many as we can find people, companies, businesses, services, and it needs promotion, which is part of what the early days of this group was getting that promotion out there so people could find it and start understanding it.
Absolutely.
So
Do they talk to you about their pain points, challenges?
Well, I think for our local businesses,
Mhm.
I think marketing is a huge thing. Just being able to get their business name out there so that they can get business. Um, I think there's some training factors in there too. I think some of them, especially around tax time, it can be a real struggle for them, to, make sure that they get their taxes done and let alone get them done correctly. But I know that's a challenge, getting some training around that. And we've had some training classes, some educational type of
Right.
effort
Through
through
BAM.
BAM. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I know that's a couple. Can you think of anything else? Marketing, education.
I think that's probably the key elements of it, the marketing, the education, but it's also different in the sense that there's not a lot of storefront industry or storefront businesses here. And the big question is how do you manage that? How do you get the word out? Just like myself, I'm in BAM as far as on the website.
Right.
I'm a B2B company, and there is probably nothing in the 97456 area code or zip code that would want my services, because my services are not particularly large companies anymore. They used to be the HPs and General Motors, that type of company. But now it's small businesses, but even small business for me is 5 to 10 people, up to 250. So I'm here,
Mhm.
but my clients are China, Spain, I mean, you name it, it's all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
but not here.
You got the clocks on your wall. Tells
Oh,
you.
yes.
See, that's
Yeah.
really interesting because I think where this piece comes in is really tapping into that. So I wanted to highlight two things. Their description, they talk about expanding technical assistance, some of the things that they want to do, bridging gaps between business incubation and growth. That's kind of a really big one because those are two different stages. You have some businesses that are at the micro level and want to just get their foot in the door.
Right.
And then some of them kind of just stay in like arrested development at that stage
Mhm.
rather than moving forward. So we want to be able to support them to grow into maybe a brick and mortar if they're a food cart, for example. We're talking about aligning workforce training with industry needs.
Mhm.
So I took a tour with the other members of the REAL group, the Rural Economic Alliance group,
Right.
the other city administrators, and the 9 city group. And we went to the Lynn Benton Community College.
Mhm.
Had the opportunity to see a lot of the things that they're doing with their CNC machines and what they're building and designing, hands-on work, which is kind of cool because it's still a manual labor job, but it involves heavy levels of technology. Which is kind of the way the world is going right now. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, for businesses if they're able to tap into that. And then also regulatory improvements. So there's things that the state's trying to do, but also at the local level. How can we facilitate business development? Are there barriers in our current policy structures? I mean, we have a business license now, which is nice, and there's no fee attached to it. I think the thing that's a benefit about that is it helps us communicate what businesses exist, because then we know that they're there.
Right.
And then what I wanted to talk about was CWED's role. So some of the things that they're trying to do, and I think this is really helpful, and I'd love to see BAM and the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce come into the fold on these discussions, because this benefits y'all's members too, and you could always tap into these same resources. But they want to offer resources and coordination that are going to support those local level business retention and expansion efforts. They want to provide research, information. They want to facilitate important connections between businesses, especially people that are maybe looking for a new business home. That's a great thing that your organizations could potentially be a part of. And then also tapping into things like state, local, and federal programming opportunities. There's also funding out there to help local businesses develop. Interesting thing about that is only local governments are eligible to apply for that funding. And so it's through that public nonprofit or public-private partnership that we're able to bring the money in and get it out to those businesses. If we have priorities in place, things that we want to see coming into the city,
Right.
we can really support those through funding. Do you have any thoughts on? I wasn't sure if you were. I wasn't sure if you wanted to mention anything. Okay. So they also talk about their, their key partners and their approaches there too. The priority area 3, this is the one that really matters, I think, primarily to Monroe the most. Because one of the things that I learned from the regional solutions visit was the reason that we stepped into potential moratorium territory with our wastewater system was we built probably the most successful business in the city, which is the restaurant, the Neeson's restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But that took a significant capacity from the wastewater system. So we really can't bring any other we can't bring anything more than housing into the city right now until we get that line underneath the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't a problem. This is really just an opportunity, because we know we need to replace that line anyway.
True.
So really, we have a couple of different reasons to support why that line needs to be built. From the economic development perspective, it's about business growth. They don't really necessarily care as much about the DEQ permitting as much as DEQ does.
Yes.
So when you're getting money from the Economic Development Administration, it's not a wastewater project, it's a business development project. And that's the way we need to think about things.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is what they're trying to do, is really prioritize capital infrastructure projects that will improve quality of life for residents, expand business opportunities, and ensure in system redundancy. We're hitting on all of those, because redundancy is, if you have one line, it means having a second one. That's exactly what we want to do. We don't want to rip our 6-inch line out of the ground.
No.
We want to build a 10-inch redundant line, or possibly a 12-inch redundant line, so that when the 6-inch dies, it's okay. But for right now, we have 2 going at the same point in time. All 3 of these things touch on priority area 3. So there's actually a lot of funding and opportunities for us to tap into EDA resources to get an infrastructure project done, because we can say that we need it for business. And CWED says they're uniquely positioned over these next couple of years, and they are, to provide technical assistance as well as support us in getting that funding that we need, not just for the wastewater line itself, but also for the bridge and the water lines and a lot of the other things that we're trying to do. These number 4 and number 5, I'll let y'all touch on separately when you want to. I think that there's an opportunity and probably a good idea here for y'all to just read over this again. I know we touched on it a couple months ago, but a couple of the members are here tonight, and so I want to make sure that y'all have an opportunity to see it. Eliza, I don't know if you or Nick were at the meeting when we talked about this last.
I was at the
think
last
Eliza
meet, the
was.
last
I'm not
one.
sure about Nick. Eliza, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Perfect. There
Yes,
you
we
are.
can.
Okay, yeah, I was at the last meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we talked about this. It was not long after I came on board. It's probably our first Economic Development Committee meeting in close to a year. And it was probably my bad. I think I didn't know that you were on the committee at the time. And so we reviewed this very lightly previously.
Okay,
So what I want to do is take a moment to step back. We've talked about this. Y'all are familiar with the projects because we touched on those last month. I've also got them right here if y'all want a refresher. But I want to go back up to this document here because what we need to do for the city is develop our own set of priorities, like 5 priorities, 3 to 5. Establish those as a committee, as a recommendation for council to approve. And then once we approve those priorities, we put them on our website and we reference them and build upon them. And this isn't something we want to build out tonight. This is something we'll build out over the next couple of months. We'll have discussions during work sessions with council. And then also what I think is probably a really good opportunity is bring this before the public next time there's going to be a town hall meeting or something online or in person and get feedback from those folks too. So after a good
Right.
couple of months, certainly after budget's done, we'll sit down and really formalize these. I wanted to get the conversation started right now. And I wanted to hear what folks think because y'all have been here a lot longer than me. You know the city better than I do. And some of you own businesses or are looking to build new businesses. And we need to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I know for a fact, I mean, priority area 1 on here is relevant. I know when I became mayor, there was not a lot of regional, local, county collaboration of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
none. And since I've become mayor, we're collaborating a lot more. We have partnerships, there's a lot more help, and we have resources that will help us. And I think that needs to remain a priority for us too.
And we, as a local government, we can't go it alone.
No,
Like we don't have
We're
the
too small.
luxury. We don't have the luxury of ignoring that.
exactly. Yeah. So that I would suggest that for at least one of these priorities.
I think that's great.
Looking at this, it keeps gnawing at me that priority 1 area regional collaboration, I absolutely agree, belongs at number 1. But based on talking, listening, priority 3, when I think about drawing business here, without doing priority 3, the infrastructure, not the resilience of it, but the actual infrastructure is, without it, you can't get there. So to try and bring business in without having the fundamental infrastructure.
yeah, it seems like
I've-
that's a prerequisite of it.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. Yep. Oh, yes.
Agreed. I think that's definitely a priority for Monroe.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
agree.
Would we call it resilience? I heard you put a pin in that, Stan.
Infrastructure is the priority. Resilience needs to be the foundation that it's built on. If you don't have the infrastructure to begin with, resilience doesn't matter.
Exactly.
True.
And
So-
right now, we have a very limited, I'm not sure that I would spend money. And I say this carefully, but I'm not sure I would spend money on resilience before I spent money on infrastructure itself.
Absolutely. Because resilience is let's protect and keep what we have.
Yeah,
Right.
We need
We need new.
we need to have
we
it.
need things that we don't have yet.
Right.
Yeah.
We need new stuff.
So for us, I think like infrastructure development, infrastructure.
Development and with the caveat that whatever you develop has to have either resilience or a plan for resilience.
Absolutely. You know, the big issue with our country as a general rule, and the American Institute of Civil Engineers puts out a report every year that grades every state on their infrastructure. We're great at funding infrastructure and building it. We're actually really good at building it. We're terrible at maintaining it, which is why bridges fall down where people are driving over them and, you know, things are 10, 20 years past their useful life.
Right.
That is absolutely true. So it's not just building it, right? You got to make sure that we maintain it too.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in literally my own property. If I put a lot of stuff in I really love without thinking about how to maintain it, after a year, it's a mess.
It looked good on day one.
It looks great on day 1 through 5.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So infrastructure support and maintenance.
Oh, I like that. What do you think?
Well, it's more than support.
Yeah,
though.
because it's building it.
Yeah, there's part of a
Or,
lot of
no, you used
pieces
support, you used, what was the word you used?
development.
Development. Okay. Infrastructure development
Mm.
and maintenance.
I like that a lot because if we include that as one of our priority areas, we're actually signaling to our funders that we understand that nuance, that it's not just building it, but maintaining it.
Mhm.
Infrastructure development, maintenance, and resilience.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that covers all the bases now, doesn't
It
it?
kind of does. Absolutely. And I wonder, so we've kind of have two in mind right now. How do those rank?
I think for us, I think honestly, it needs to move up to the number 2 slot.
I would second that.
And regional collaboration and partnerships remain at number one because that's how we get there.
Correct.
Without the venture capital, you can't get to the next one.
That's exactly right.
Infrastructure development, maintenance and resilience, correct?
That's what I said.
Mhm.
Is everybody else cool with that? It does
Sounds
cover
good to
everything.
me.
Yeah, covers everything
Sounds good to
nicely.
me as well.
Okay, excellent. Okay. That's 2.
So I look at things like foundations for economic well-being. And I wonder about some of the things that don't necessarily fall into infrastructure totally. Like street and sidewalk improvements and facade improvement,
The stuff you can see.
the stuff you can see.
Mhm.
That's exactly right. I've had my mind on that quite a bit over the last couple of months because I know that we actually had a facade grant a while back, didn't we? Didn't we get one some time ago now?
I know that one of the businesses in town has tried for it a couple times.
Got it.
But didn't get it.
And then, so there's an Oregon Main Street, there's an American Main Street. I'm sure you're well aware of this because those are two of the foundations that would fund a building like the one you just purchased.
Okay.
They fund exactly those things.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
facade improvements,
Mhm.
structural improvements for historical or potentially historical sites.
I think that building is approaching historical at this point. If I
Yep.
remember correctly.
Yep, and you could approach,
Building.
you can approach the State Historic Preservation Office and ask them to make a designation.
Well, so, I'm the total rookie on this. And so I don't have all these notions where to start.
Yeah, no worries. And that's what I think it's a couple things. First off, we can keep having these conversations, but that tells me that what we're talking about matters.
It is work, yeah.
Oh,
Right.
it definitely does.
Because you wouldn't be the only one who could use it.
That, I mean, we've got funds, but our funds are exceedingly more limited
Mhm.
because, you know, there are places where we're short. And where there's no end in sight unless you can find 3 more jobs to do. Bring money in. But if there were money available to upgrade that, be on board a whole lot more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I mean, that could turn a potentially 2-3 year project into a 1 year project
Absolutely.
with some money.
Absolutely, it could. So there are ways that we could support businesses, exactly as I just described, in helping business owners find those resources and supporting them in finding those resources. A second way that kind of falls under that same category is directly related to our urban renewal
Mhm.
district concept that we're going to begin to explore. Because if the sidewalk isn't a great place to walk on, or the streets adjacent to you aren't great, then you could do all the improvements in the world, but it's not going to be as good if it were when the infrastructure is such that people can walk to and drive to and enjoy the space around that building.
I think we've already picked that up if we do it right under, let's call it the priority 2, infrastructure development, maintenance and resilience.
Well, I want to draw, that's where I'm drawing a distinction. Help me, tell me if you think this makes sense. When we talk about infrastructure, the way that we're putting it on as a priority, we're thinking about pipes. We're thinking about water, wastewater, stormwater, the big infrastructure that has like a lot of permitting and requirements and the expense attached to it. The cities, it's still infrastructure if you do a street and a sidewalk, but infrastructure funding doesn't cover that stuff. So unless it's a transportation, specifically for transportation system planning, usually you have to find other ways to fund it, which is why urban renewal exists. One of the reasons urban renewal funding exists,
Right.
so that you can do the sidewalks and the soft improvements that are absolutely required, but
Does it matter? I'm trying to think of how to say this, but the urban renewal aspect of it, in my mind, could be part of the maintenance. When I look at maintenance, what are we talking about?
it could be. It could be. What I'm thinking, I guess the way I'm thinking about it is to spotlight it as its own focal point. Allows us to focus in on that specifically when we're going for grant funding that helps us do things like sidewalks and streets to support businesses. And where that's really going to be helpful is places where we rip up the street to put in new water or wastewater. There's got to be a street that goes on top of it.
Right.
But the water and wastewater funding isn't going to be covering that. And so we have urban renewal. And where do we point those urban renewal dollars? We can think about it through the lens of where businesses are or could be developed. Like down Commercial Street, for example. There's the intent to make more commercial development along Commercial Street.
Yeah. When I was involved with this down in California, the community, and I'm drawing a blank here on the name, but the community itself was a 1900 environment. And it was little street, little sidewalk. There were no curbs or gutters. And as they went through this process, they really didn't want streets because the whole community looked and felt like they wanted it. So it was maintenance of what they had, bringing it up to what it should be. So the gravel roads they had, they improved those by just maintaining them better.
We're not in that situation though. We're in pretty rough shape in a lot of places.
I understand, but to some degree, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
But it's the wording and, do I have 5 projects or do I have 4? And within the 4, this piece of it is very specifically urban renewal. But we put it under maintenance because it's a longer, slower, but deliberate approach.
Okay.
When I go to a potential business that I'm trying to move into the community, when they drive through and see what we have, it's like, I'm really pleased with that side, but you know, I really don't think I want to come here. And I've had this.
Yeah.
I've actually had this happen with venture capital out of California. They drove up, they saw the place and said, totally agree financially, it's the right thing to do. But I can't see us doing it
Okay.
because of the way it looks.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I'm getting at. We're literally actually saying the same thing, and that's kind of what I was talking about a few minutes ago. You don't, a lot of businesses don't want to do those improvements unless they know the city is equally invested in everything around it.
Yes.
That's in the public right away.
And they want to see that city involvement or commitment when they come in. They don't want to see it after they get here.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And that's kind of where I'm going with this actually, because with the urban renewal, the goal is to fund a project like a sidewalk or a street replacement because we know that's a spot where a business would love to come in or an existing business would love to invest more money if they knew that they would get that out of it. But it's like a chicken or an egg.
It is. And the wording is where you put it and how you put it.
So this is a suggestion for wording.
Yeah.
So there's urban renewal and revitalization. And revitalization can focus on improvements like we're talking about with like the sidewalks, you know, whatever, the building facades, whatever the case may be. That can include the city, you know, some type of finance strategy behind all of that. I mean, urban renewal has a finance strategy with it, but it can include improvements too.
Yes.
So I mean, that kind of pulls it out from under infrastructure.
So capture that for me. Help me understand it. Let me make sure I'm following you. Say it again.
I'm cheating. So you gotta give me a second.
Right on. I love it.
So what I'm suggesting is urban renewal and revitalization. You know, the components of it would be some type of financial strategy,
Mhm.
targeted improvements.
Yes.
And then private investment stimulation.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That is precisely what we're talking
So
about.
is that enough to pull out from?
Yes.
Out from under?
That is exactly right. And that's what makes it different than infrastructure. Because the infrastructure is the cold, boring, invisible stuff
Yeah.
that must be there for the businesses to operate.
Right.
But the urban renewal and the visible stuff is the stuff that needs to be there for them to
Right.
even want to show up and think about
So
it.
it's like, I think of like the beautification committee, the parks and beautification.
That falls under
would-
that.
Would fall into this too.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. What do you all think? I mean, I'm jazzed about that, but folks online, what are your thoughts?
I think it should be priority number 3, actually. I think we will entice more businesses to come to Monroe if we have a clear plan in place that would show, to Stanley's point, you know, that the city is involved and that community members are involved and that this is something that's wanted and have a clear path forward.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
I
we've-
agree.
Go ahead, Eliza. Sorry.
I
cut you
just
off there.
said I agree, and I like the priorities that we're talking about. I completely agree.
Great. So right now we actually got 3 that we've worked through. One would be regional collaboration and priorities. One is infrastructure development, maintenance, and resilience. And the third one would be urban.
Urban renewal and revitalization.
I love that. I love the way that sounds. I couldn't capture it in my brain quickly enough. Yeah, urban renewal and revitalization.
That really sets the foundation for
Really
growth.
does. It really does, because rural vitality, well, we're already there. We are rural. And the business development, I mean, that is literally what we're trying to do in general. So it's a kind of a given for us. Those 3 really are the foundation. We could add more, but these 3 might be nice to bring to a discussion with council. Talk through what our thoughts are and why we think these are important to get on the website and out in the world.
Yeah, to me, and I'm just reiterating what we're saying, but the regional collaboration, the infrastructure, the rural revitalization, those are the top 3 in order to entice business to get here. you put business above those three and you're fighting, you're climbing uphill.
Yeah.
Because of what you're doing, you're climbing uphill. There's a climb to get business here anyway.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But if the other three aren't at least in the strategy, it's a harder pull to get the industry here. And like I said, I've had 3 occasions to bring venture capital and multiple millions of dollars to this area, and all 3 of them failed
For a lot of the reasons we're talking
for
about.
these very reasons. Not a lot of them, for these exact reasons.
That is a good piece of feedback to hear, to know that I think we're going down the right track.
Yeah. And one of them was just in the last 6 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. There's somebody that wants to do a canning or some sort of manufacturing business, and they reached out to the Rural Economic Alliance Group, and I don't have the water and wastewater capacity to bring them in. I've got the land.
Yeah.
We've got the land available. The
Mhm.
challenge though is getting through this stuff.
But that triggers another question, another discussion, which is canning the right thing for what we want the Monroe environment to be?
That's the second filter, the second lock,
Yeah.
right? I completely agree with you. There's several to get through.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I want to do at our coming meetings.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start with priorities, like
we
what
could-
are our goals?
We could have a trucking company.
Right. We can't control who comes into the city, right? But what we can do is we can signpost what we want to see come into the city through our policies and through what we fund. So for example, getting funding from the Economic Development Administration to support specific types of business is something that the city can do.
I think bringing in manufacturing, food manufacturing, for an example, would be a great fit for our community because it would be reliant on ag-based products, which is what we do in the Willamette Valley. It is not an unusual business model, and they do more than just can, but it would be the main materials that they would bring in would be ag-based materials. And I think it would blend seamlessly with what our community does, and the types of jobs that would be available would be significant for our community.
I agree with you 100%. I wasn't throwing shade at the idea, but I was agreeing with Stan in that any business that comes forward, we kind of want to be like, is X business what the city could really benefit from? I agree with you though, Councilor Williams. Like, food production brings a lot of jobs, good paying jobs, and it has a lot of activity that could be good for the community.
So I know we weren't going to talk about any more priorities, but I wanted to throw out an idea
Yeah.
for maybe a 4th one.
Yeah.
And promotion is a big thing. And I'm wondering if promotion needs to be one of the priorities. It doesn't have to be like the 4th one. It could be the 5th one. It's just an idea throwing out.
I like that. Tell me more. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we're wanting to attract business, but how do you attract business if they don't even know that you want business? You need to promote it.
Yeah.
So once we get through, fixing our infrastructure,
Mhm.
then we're in a much better place to attract, promote, and potentially get business here.
Absolutely.
So it's just a thought. I thought I'd throw
Absolutely.
it out.
But couldn't
like
that
that a
just
lot.
be under the regional collaboration and partnership? I feel like that's like promoting and encouraging those relationships.
Maybe. I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. In my mind, regional collaboration and partnerships makes me think of state, federal, county governments, the Economic Development District, and your non-governmental organizations as well, which support all of this stuff. And we're going to lean on all those people to help us get the money and technical assistance. And actually, technical assistance is carved out specifically in this.
Mhm.
So we're needing people above us to support us.
Yeah, my thoughts were the regional partners are helping us locate the funding that we need to get these projects off the ground.
But you're talking about us kind of being the support for a whole different audience,
Mhm.
that being the business community
Right.
and promoting
Or
them,
potential business owners
right?
that want to come here and start a business.
So
Yeah,
that could
and
include,
for me, that regional doesn't just mean anyone above us. It just means everyone in the region. It can be a
Mhm,
general
right.
sense of, the businesses in the area and etc.
Right.
and it
Very
could.
true. Yes.
It could be. And like I was saying, we'll shop this to council and come back to this committee, and the why we nail down what we do is going to be based on a lot of discussion. Thank you so much to Eliza for kind of thinking through the nuances, and it may be that that's the way that we want to address it.
I kind of think of and not to take away from what Dan's saying, but I look at marketing as one of the tools for everything on that list.
Mhm.
And to make it a single priority, I'm not quite sure how that enhances, other than to add one more thing to the list.
That's fair. And that's something to definitely think about, because what we'll do, in addition to writing 5 lines of text, we'll do the same thing that they're doing and actually go through and have a 1 page
Mhm.
for each one. And we'll call out specifically what we mean
Okay.
by that. So when we get to that step, it may be that it fits nicely, and we may find that it doesn't.
I'm seeing 5 priorities. We've got 3, and I'm like, we only need 2 more. How about 2 more tonight?
You don't have to nail 'em down tonight.
I know. That's just me.
May I say that marketing really is sort of a long-term strategy. You don't start out marketing something.
Right.
You have to have something to market.
Exactly.
And, and marketing strikes me as being always in evolution.
Yeah.
Because it depends on to whom you are marketing.
True.
Those people
Mhm.
age, they age into something and then they age out of it.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're looking at a 30-year time span.
Right. Yeah.
But similarly, there are fads in taste, there are fads in fashion, there are fads in all kinds of things. And marketing has to evolve all the time. So marketing is a continuing and yet a long-term.
It's a strategy in itself. Yeah.
In and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in today's world, it's changing almost daily.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
And I want to draw the distinction between marketing and promotion, because as also a business owner thinking the way that you all are, you're thinking about marketing in the way that it brings attention to the business. But for a local government, we can't promote, Jake the plumber over John the plumber.
Mhm. Right.
Right.
So we have to promote the plumbing industry
Right.
Yes.
in general.
Right.
And so it kind of takes us a level higher. We can't get quite down into the
Mhm.
detailed marketing levels that a lot of businesses want to. So that's where promotion comes in.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely. So I think you were right on target with what you were saying, Mayor Sheets,
Mhm.
where it belongs. Currently, we're thinking about it as its own topic. It may fold into number
Yeah,
1.
it could.
It may very well fold into
I
number
just
1.
want
It
to
has
start
to.
later.
It has to fold into every one of them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
true. Yeah.
I mean, the reality is it's promotion.
Mhm.
I think it's
Every one of these.
promotion more than marketing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's required in every one of them
Mhm.
to succeed in any one of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, we might want to leave a few blank spaces. So we have 3 that we've really nailed down, and 1 that we're toying with could be its own or possibly folded into one of the 3. This might be a good set to bring to council, leaving 2 blank spaces for council to fill in as recommendations for the Economic Development Committee to think over.
Mhm.
Because it may be that one of our counselors has some great idea that could be a
Definitely.
priority, and then this committee at our next meeting can talk through that and decide whether it's something we want to include.
Okay.
I also like just having 3 so that it makes it easier to get them done.
Yeah.
It may be that short and sweet is the best approach for us, because they have 5 here because it's 4 counties. It's a massive regional area and they have to cover a lot of stuff.
Right.
And also, I've never seen a SEDS with less than 5, so I think that they sometimes It's like, you know, writing an album, you always hear about the band that's like, we were at the last minute and we couldn't think of the last 4 songs. And they came to us because we had to. Like, I think that's what they do here a lot of times. So,
Right.
but maybe 3 is right for us. You say we bring these to council and
Yeah.
carry this forward to our next meeting.
And I also think that these priorities are about the environment and what we're doing versus how we're doing it. Which goes back to, we absolutely have to have marketing in this process. We have to have promotion in this process. We have to have support in this process. But that's not something I can come and look at.
Yep.
From the standpoint of the community.
Mhm.
That's one of the tools. It's not one of the, look how well we improved this area.
Sure.
So,
I just have a few questions and it's really for my understanding. So this is our strategic long-term, well, 3 to 5 year plan. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, so what you want to do, what a city wants to do is match the time frame for the larger region. So we would identify like a 5-year strategy and revisit this in 2030, right after the next comprehensive economic development strategy comes out. So yeah, absolutely, Councilor Williams, that's right.
Okay. And so if we come up with some really great strategies or priorities in, 2 years, can we add that to this plan now, or does that need to be done at the next big 5-year review?
Oh, I love that question. This is not etched in stone like our comprehensive plan is for planning, for example. Once we write that, you cannot do anything to it without a lot of work.
Okay,
With this, we can do what we want.
so we can move and groove a little bit.
Absolutely. And sometimes it makes sense to, as you say, move and groove a little bit because maybe one of those priorities just isn't hitting the way that we need it to. And
Mhm.
a tweak could help us. So absolutely.
Okay, that helps clarify in my head. Thank you.
just out of curiosity to add to what was just said. If we set all this up, we get everything staged and approvals and all that. And just by chance, Amazon comes in and says, if you'll help us do this, we'll help you do all the rest. But we'd like to tweak it. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I see it happen all the time. Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what's going on in Eugene right now, but
Yes, I'm,
No, they're building something over at the by the airport, aren't
yeah, I heard
Yes.
something about that.
they?
yes.
Over by the Eugene Airport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Amazon
there's
facility.
also, I believe it's 1,000 acres in, Coburg. That's been shovel ready made. Couple of $1 million worth of investment for industry, high tech, but technical industry. And
We don't know
that,
what that means yet.
no, I have no idea what it means.
I have suspicions and fears, but maybe good things too.
Oh, like AI.
It could easily do that. Yes.
The scale of it, the resources that are available, it's ideal for a data center.
Yeah, okay.
And with Amazon going where it's going,
But y'all think about this for a moment, because there's something to talk about. There's a lot of communities around the country. There are
Yeah.
hundreds of data centers around the country right now where people are complaining
Yep.
that 24 hours a day there's a humming through
Yep.
the ground and a buzzing because they're so
Yep.
close to the data center, and all of
Right.
those servers are just operating 24/7,
Mhm.
and you can feel it 2-3 miles away, right?
Wow.
There's water. There's water resources that are, completely taking all of the water available from communities.
Yeah.
Even though they claim it's a closed loop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
because they claim it's a closed loop system. That's true until they need to flush it and bring more water in, and that happens at a fairly frequent rate. There's the electricity component. You
Oh,
can't
yes.
subsidize all of that through solar. And at the same time, fossil fuel prices are going up. And so there's a lot of stuff. Just because you get somebody that comes in and says, we are going to solve all of your problems and make the world perfect for you, what they're selling you is going to be very different, maybe,
Mhm.
than what you might experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. doing a lot of work for Intel in the past and currently still involved in that. I'm aware of some of what's going on. And you're 100% right.
Yeah, there's unintended consequences sometimes, and that's exactly what we want to think through. What businesses, what types of industries do we want to see coming into Monroe? Because we can signpost that out in the world. We can't control who comes in, but we can certainly invite
Right.
industries.
You know, and the way you build the infrastructure and the way it looks and feels has an impact on who comes in.
Absolutely, because it sends its own message. What
Yeah.
kind of businesses are we making possible
Yeah.
through the size of the infrastructure, the scope of what we're building,
Yeah.
or where it's going?
Now, how does this play going back to, see if I can get my memory working, a couple of years ago, when we went out and talked to the community and the community said they wanted to be, for the sake of words, a bedroom community.
So what you need to do is help the community understand why that is not in their best interest.
Okay.
So from an economic development perspective, just as a general rule of thumb, you need about 30% of your property to be zoned commercial and industrial.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is that those organizations pay significantly higher rates for water and wastewater. And they also do things like developers do with subdivisions, and they help build that infrastructure too.
Mhm.
If you have a bedroom community, you still need the infrastructure. You still got to build it. But the cost of constructing it is borne 100% by your residential customers.
Right.
As a result, the rates for all of those customers goes up as you need to build more and improve upon what you already have.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of communities around the country. In fact, one that I was working with in Florida not long ago, they did a whole city rezone and brought their city close to that 30% for commercial industrial. Upset a lot of folks because they were a community that had all residential, and that's the way that it was planned back in 1950.
Wow.
And they had rezoned since then. We're not in that position. We actually have a good chunk of industrial and commercial, and we have the ability to rezone areas that we know should be industrial or commercial. So we're not in that situation. But I mean, when people come and tell me that, the first thing I want to talk to them about is their own wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not transportation.
Well, and I think there's a whole social thing too, being in bedroom community. And
Mhm.
that is if everybody leaves every day, then you don't develop any kind of cohesion. about
Right.
things.
That's right.
You know, you still have a budget committee, you still have a city council, but you don't have anybody who wants to serve on because they don't really belong to the community.
Right.
Because it's not a community.
Right. It's like a place to stay, basically.
But it's like
Yeah.
right, it's like a Motel 6.
Mhm.
The whole town is a Motel 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, over time, it's been bedroom community and,
There were some amenities that folks wanted too.
there was some amenities, but, destination location is probably not the right term, but a tourist environment.
Sure.
Place for people to come and do things.
Absolutely.
As
Food
opposed
and
to-
beverage or other types of things that draw
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Things that draw people to rather than industry in.
Stan, I want to say one thing. In my experience, people aren't against business development or growth. What they tend to be against is their perception that a city or a government is shooting from the hip. Not planning it out, not
Right.
being
Yeah,
strategic,
planning
not
it,
thinking
yeah.
through what the trade-offs and the consequences are.
Mhm. Yeah.
I want to be sure that when the community sees our plan, it is crystal clear.
Yeah.
That we've done all that.
Right.
Beforehand.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I just, that's been my experience. A lot of times you're like, we want to do this thing. We know it's the right thing to do. Trust us. And the community's like, oh,
Yeah, it seems like in fairly recent times of development, it kind of just happens. There's not a lot of, there wasn't any thought. It's just in the moment, no future. Oh, if we do this, maybe we should do something about our infrastructure. It's no, oh, just build it and we'll worry about it later kind of
Well,
mentality.
You can tell that it's sort of slipshod and haphazard just by looking at the way 7th and 8th Street
Yeah.
Fine, and they're done, and
I know, right?
Yeah.
it's six goes through the middle of the house. I mean, and
Yep.
discussion at the city council meeting about
Mhm.
7th Street here.
The gap.
There's a 6-foot strip between the street and the sidewalk that's full of weeds and potholes. And it's just, I mean, where was the city council when that was all?
I'm not sure.
They did what you said. It's all built on good intentions.
Exactly.
Let's just do it because this is good for our community and
It
we'll,
helps me.
yep, let's do it because it's good for us and we'll deal with the consequences later.
Yep, exactly.
But one of the, so I've taught several courses in planning at the University of Oregon. One of the things that we talk about is what's more expensive, the bus or the bus driver?
Right.
It's the bus driver. It's significantly more expensive. But nobody thinks about that when they're going out to buy the $1 million bus. They're just glad that they got the $1 million in hand.
This has been a whole kicking the can down the road thing
Right.
forever and ever. So.
Yep.
And I'm done with kicking the damn can. We need to fix it. And it's gonna take a long time.
And
But-
this will tie, this discussion we're having right now is planting a seed for our UGB expansion discussions
Right.
that we'll be having with council and regional partners over the next several months. So all of this is kind of like a big,
It all ties together.
it's a
Yep.
choreographed dance in a lot of ways.
Yes, that's very true.
And that there's such a dearth of places to have businesses. But they're both they're on opposite sides of the street in about a 3-block long area.
Yep.
And there's no way to get across the street, and it's the highway.
It is very busy, yes.
And so right there, there's just a safety consideration that
Yes.
somehow the urban renewal district, I'll be able to get another crosswalk. somewhere.
Well, we had hoped that reducing the speed limit would have helped reduce some of that, but it's still an issue.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And there has been talk about, at least that I'm aware of, having 99 be one way in one direction and a different street going the other direction.
And I've got leverage with ODOT now because they finally funded along with a partnership with the county, a 99 Vine, a bus that comes right through Monroe. So it stops out in front of the high school. It's doing that now, 3 times a day. And now that you, ODOT, have a bus here, we love that. That's great. We're a little concerned about our residents crossing the street.
Right.
So what this does allows us to leverage them in something that we want to do that's going to support this as well.
Yeah.
That's something I was thinking about a couple months ago and they were telling me, are you okay with the bus coming through? I'm like, absolutely.
And then just wait.
Okay.
Sure, here, where do you want me to sign?
Well, and I will say, and this is not to be critical of anybody or anything, but when you try to start a business in town, there's a lot of vagaries that you need to sort of wander your way through
Mhm.
because they're not clearly delineated as to what you need to do.
Absolutely right.
And, oh, you need to talk to the county about that. Oh, no, you need to talk to the city about that. And they're
Mhm.
busy pointing the finger at one another and saying, no, that's a county issue. No, that's a city issue.
Mhm.
And it's not really clear. Is there a fee for starting a business? No, there's not. Okay, then what kind of permits do you have to apply for? Well, that's real unclear. And so those are the kinds of things that people who are trying to start a business
Mhm.
need to have a resource.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And those are things that we haven't had here and we don't have here.
And there's, and to whom did the questions go? And
Yeah.
you're the only one to whom the questions can go so far. As far as I'm aware.
You're correct. And that's why, and this kind of goes into other topics, that's why I'm prioritizing a lot of my time to focus on those specific issues, because that's where our focus is right now. That's where our need is. And I did, by the way, I took care of that request on the commercial street thing,
Okay,
today, and then we'll be getting,
yeah, I have to tell you that I came home from the budget meeting in Lebanon this and walked into Cheryl's.
Oh, yeah.
Because.
I made a mistake and I told her it was residential. So I responded to her and I was quickly looking at the zoning map on the wall. And she asked me, what is the zone of that property? And I looked over and I said, okay, that's GRB. That's, medium density residential. And actually it's just one street over. I was wrong about that. It's actually in the commercial zone. And the reason this is so critical is because they want to change of occupancy for a
Okay.
commercial use out of residential.
Okay.
That wouldn't happen without a conditional use in a residential zone. So she had a small little heart attack there. She responded and I very quickly replied. I said, mea culpa. Yeah. Anything else for the good of the order on these topics? We've got our 3,
Mhm.
4-ish topics that we'll bring to
Right.
council at our next work session to talk through this stuff. Anything else for the good of the order tonight?
Folks online?
Nope.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm good. What about you, gentlemen? Are you good?
I'm good.
Are you good, sir?
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good.
Can I get on this committee?
Yes, you can.
I can add it to the agenda
Okay.
as appointments for the end of the month and
Yeah.
that'll get formalized on the 29th.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can hang out with us formally.
You want me to stop by the office and pick up an application?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That way we have it on file.
Okay. Back. I'll be back tomorrow, so I can sign.
Okay. Awesome. I love that. That's great.
Get it filed and so I can get it formed.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. Everybody have a good evening.
Have a good night, folks.
Have a good evening. Goodbye from Kentucky.
Bye-bye.
Bye.